Alrighty, hello there YouTube, Bruised here again, and today I wanted to talk about and do, I guess, a guide for where this ranger is at right now. This is a physical bow ranger, so mostly snipe. Snipe is our main damaging ability here, so we're Fizz, Snipe, Ranger, Deadeye, and I'll be honest, we're jumping into the middle of a map. All that's left really for me here is to kill the map boss. I just kind of wanted to showcase the good damage, like how the build plays out against like a boss, especially in a situation where you don't have any frenzy charges. I could absolutely like set it up, or I could run a full map, but I kind of just decided a full map takes too long. What I'll probably do is I'm basically going to kill this boss, and then as I'm running over to some of these other areas, I would like to just kind of showcase just like how regular clear goes and how regular mapping goes. So I'll go over there and I'll kind of yap about the build a little bit while I'm doing that. But I wanted to showcase just like killing a boss, killing some stuff first. I really wasn't sure when I wanted to make a guide for characters in general, and maybe what I'll do, at least until I kind of feel a little bit more confident about certain things, is to just make it in like an initial guide like this, and then maybe provide an update later on. So as it stands right now, though, this character has by far been my strongest character that I've put together so far. It's been a lot of fun. It's really cruised all the way through the end game here. I'm on tier 11 plus maps right now. This is actually an 11 map as well. But I've had a few 13s, 14s drop, and this character has completely breezed through them, and it's been no problem really. The only thing that like occasionally will still kill me is if an enemy has that annoying the proximity. You can only damage them while you're in a certain proximity of them, or maybe just before my resistances were capped. Or like some big chaos damage, like before my resistances were capped, obviously just kind of getting destroyed by a group of enemies like that, or during rituals as well. I kind of am like a bit annoyed at ritual, but I think it's mostly just because the placement of the altars can be so annoying sometimes, and for this character in particular, you'll just have this little, essentially this little edge, and that's all the space that you get to fight all these monsters in ritual, and that can be annoying and get you killed. But for the most part, though, character has completely blown through everything, and really surprised me at how strong it was going to be. I really kind of figured that in the case of Ranger, that it was really just going to be far and away just do lightning stuff and don't even think about the fizz or the ice stuff. But it's been super strong and super fun, so I figure I'll just kind of show it off a little bit, and we'll see how this goes. So it's this the old fungus boss. So frenzy and setup, and you see just one shot there, ton of damage, and now we're gonna consume our frenzy charges, and he's dead, just like that. That's it. We barraged, we frenzied him, he's dead. Like, it's crazy strong. If you're able to do a setup where you walk into a boss room and you just consume all your frenzies with barrage and set up a sniper's mark on them, and then you actually get the crit with snipe, you almost always can just like one-shot things. Like this build, this character has seriously been crazy like powerful in that kind of regard. As I was leveling through the campaign, I just kept being surprised at the amount of just damage that you can just absolutely shred out onto enemies. I had some bosses where if you're able to set them up in the campaign, if you're able to set up some damage against them, or you're able to like set up a little bit or have frenzy charges ready when you go into that boss room, then you would literally just one-shot them and be on your merry way. And it was so fun. So I knew I was gonna have to put a build guide together for this. I was gonna have to showcase it at least a little bit. I hate those guys so much. But yeah, the regular mapping experience is kind of just running around. You have Rain of Arrows and you have the Spiral Volley there. That's what those two are. And that's basically what you're doing. You kind of, for the most part, I always forget those guys explode. You, for the most part, are kind of just using like Rain of Arrows, even your basic attack here, to just kind of actually generate your frenzy charges, and it still deals a pretty damn decent amount of damage as it is. And then when you get surrounded, or you just have a good group of enemies around, you can Spiral Volley. If there's something around that's actually like a heavy target, then you actually sit down and do your snipe. Getting used to the actual perfect timing on snipe is kind of a big deal. It did take me, I'm like, obviously I'm still messing up the perfect timings on it. I was actually really worried that I would go into that boss fight and I would just completely screw up the timings, and it would look like the most like whatever DPS and whatever bossing around. Honestly, I keep reading those guys explode. But yeah, The as long as you're able to set that up, it's great. I'm definitely going to be continuing this character. But yeah, this is mapping in a nutshell. I will be continuing this character, and I'll kind of provide an update once I get to some of the actual pinnacle bosses and everything. As it stands right now, like I said, this is very still early on. I'm level 83 right now, I believe. Yeah, so still level 83, still very early. And as you can see, I've like done some tier 13s, tier 14s. I have explored enough to at least know, like, I have an Iron Citadel here, and I have a couple. I have a bunch of the citadels sitting around. It's just a matter of I haven't actually just run them yet, or I haven't received the high enough map tiers to actually get in there and do it. But the character overall was just so much fun that I felt like I needed to put a build, just like at least a first video about this character now, and then I would provide essentially an update once this character really started getting through to some of the true endgame stuff. Also, if you're wondering why that unique boss had an extra modifier on it, why it was doing like periodic lightning, it's because of Deadly Evolution here. Deadly Evolution here is terrific, actually. It lets you really farm those bosses out. I forgot what I was gonna do with my points here, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't really care about chess, truthfully. We're just gonna go here and here, I guess. Whatever. Anyway. With that, we will just kind of roll into the actual character, the tree, what we're doing with the guy, and we'll just go from there. But at the very least, so that was the quick map, or at least just the end of the map kind of experience right there. Like I said, you'll occasionally die, maybe just to like I occasionally would die when my resistances weren't capped, or I'd occasionally die just because I still only have 1800 life. I'd like to get that to at least a little bit above 2000, maybe get to 2100 or so. But there are still plenty of gear upgrades to be had with this character, only level 83. But we'll go over the tree. So, like I said, level 83, Deadeye currently. Ascendancy-wise, Deadeye, I did the Frenzy Charge stuff first. Just took Frenzy Charges. And then I have taken Far Shot here. Far Shot, because, again, we're using Snipe for most of our damage. So, just the sitting back and firing away is the big deal. For Uberlab, for 4th Ascendancy, I was initially kind of thinking about taking Endless Munitions, but I also ultimately decided against that. And the reason is that the bow that I'm currently using is just a Zealot bow, and I will ideally be getting an actual bigger fizz damage base, a bigger just like bow in general. But for now, my bow currently serves my purposes. But ideally, I'll be getting a bigger one, and I think if I were to very specifically try to get a dual string bow, I'd be limiting myself so much to the options, and it would take me infinitely longer unless I wanted to just go buy one, which then would also cost a lot, I'm sure, in game to get a really big fizz dual string bow. Dual string bows are, I think I have one in the guild stash here. Yes. Bow attacks fire an additional arrow. You do not want to use Snipe with just one additional arrow. If you do, it's just going to split off to the sides and you'll have nothing going down the middle. So if you did happen to have a really big fizz dual string bow, then I would 100% say go Endless Munitions. I think that would be completely worth it. But if you're not able to find one, if you're able to get one, whatever the case may be, like I probably won't, then I will be taking Gathering Winds instead. Tailwind is pretty whatever, truthfully, because we lose all of it as soon as we get hit. But since we're an evasion character, and since for the most part we can kind of stay away, or at least we have enemies pinned with our rain of arrows, we should be able to avoid getting hit often enough to where Tailwind should still be a useful ability to have. Though I believe it also increases our total skill speed. So as you get more stacks of Tailwind, you might have to learn how to adjust your snipe timings in the middle of that. It might be a bit awkward. So if you ultimately don't like Gathering Winds, then I would just say take Eagle Eyes. We're doing a little bit of an accuracy stack thing, so Eagle Eyes doesn't do a ton for us, but it is still not a bad choice for us. Additional Mark, we don't actually care about that. The only Mark that actually does anything for us, realistically, is Sniper's Mark. So with that, though, we'll kind of roll into the tree. So like I said, just Frenzy, Far Shot, and then I will probably be taking Gathering Winds unless I decide I don't like Tailwind, and then I'll be going to Eagle Eyes. Tree-wise, though, just started up the projectile side, just going proj speed, attack speed. What I will say is from a leveling perspective with this build, I leveled this entirely as it is, which was kind of boring, if I'm going to be real with you. It was pretty boring to level this skill until I got to Rain of Arrows, which is at 9. That's when you can start using Rain of Arrows. That's when I felt like the build kind of really activated. And same with when I could get... I always forget where it is. Combat Frenzy. It's on 8. So when you can get a Combat Frenzy, and when you can have Rain of Arrows kind of activated at the same time, then it starts to feel really nice as far as leveling goes. But the early levels until getting that point was extremely boring. Like, it was literally, I was running around using basic attack and snipe. And that was my entire build for a long time. And then eventually I got Barrage. And Barrage wasn't really doing a lot because I didn't really have a good way to generate frenzy charges yet without the use of Combat Frenzy. So it was just this really awkward thing. Sniper's Mark helped a good bit to actually like sustain when I was able to get Sniper's Mark. Then I could Sniper Mark, snipe, get Barrage, all that kind of good stuff. So it was I will not say that it was a fun leveling experience for a while. It was pretty tough. But like I said, once I got to Rain of Arrows, it was actually a lot of fun. I started really enjoying this build, and I started to see the real potential, especially with Combat Frenzy activated in there as well. And then Spiral Volley, I don't actually think Spiral Volley is all that important to us, but it is still a nice, just little extra button to have. And it still can churn out a pretty decent amount of damage, and it's just another kind of just good option for us as we're running around. So it's not the end of the world to not use this, but I think it is. I tried using Tornado Shot for a little while as well, but with this build in particular, it's not... I decided to drop it, because ultimately the problem with Tornado Shot is it kind of splits whatever skills it takes in there. And the thing is that if you do a Tornado Shot and then shoot a snipe into it, it will take that and it will split it elsewhere. So usually it won't hit the target that you wanted it to initially hit. And it made using snipe really awkward, and the only other skills really that we would be shooting through Tornado Shot would be either Spiral Volley or our basic attack, which who cares about shooting that through a tornado? So ultimately I dropped Tornado Shot. I don't really think it's worth it. I also barely use Escape Shot. If I had some extra spirit, I would probably just use, I would probably drop Escape Shot and just put on another aura. I don't really know what aura I would put on, but I would put on some other kind of aura. And then, yeah. So otherwise, like I said, as far as leveling goes, I would probably recommend using Lightning Arrow. Just do Lightning Arrow, Lightning Rod, setup, the usual stuff, kind of until you get down to like Rain of Arrows, and then make a pivot back is what I would say, is then take a pivot, you know, have Snipe, Barrage, Sniper's Mark, and Rain of Arrows, and you should then be cruising as long as you also have Combat Frenzy. But like I said, so then we were cruising up. All that I did leveling wise is I just went down here. I think I took Preemptive Strike early, and then I came up here and took Blinding Strike second. And the reason for Preemptive Strike, I didn't really explain this at the start. The reason we're using Snipe, and the reason why Preemptive Strike especially is really good, is when you perfectly time Snipe, you are guaranteed a critical hit. So that's why it deals so much damage. We're guaranteed critting on that. And it also gains a really big critical damage bonus by itself. So if we stack Preemptive Strike on top of that, that usually means that our first attack that we get off on targets on anything that's full life, so a boss, a rare, whatever it may be, suddenly we're doing this huge damage bonus against those enemies that are on full life, and it will either A, kill them outright, or 2, it will essentially deal so much damage immediately that it will stun them and let you follow up and then usually kill them. So Preemptive Strike and everything is just a extremely good time. I went up here to Moment of Truth and Crashing Wave a bit later on in the tree. I think it was mostly Blinding Strike, Preemptive Strike, and then I pivoted back down towards Maiming Strike and coming over here to get Pierce the Heart. Pierce the Heart feels really good actually, because it just, every time that your snipe pierces a target, the explosion happens if you've timed it perfectly. So there's also like an explosion that I think it's 1.8 meters around the arrow, and if you pierce, it actually will do the explosion twice on whatever targets are there. So overall, good node to take. The projectile speed one is also decent. I have some increases to projectile speed, so ultimately took that. And then just taking the frenzy charges here, the one frenzy charge here, and then coming up here to Struck Through as well for the crit chance. This node probably isn't that big of a deal. Like, I could actually refund this node most likely, because we don't really care about our other attacks critting. We mostly just care about timing our snipe enough so that that crits. But I also wanted to keep this on here because sometimes with Sniper's Mark, or sometimes if you mess up your snipe, you can still Sniper's Mark something and then have like your rain of arrows go off, and that can help you generate another frenzy charge a little bit quicker if the pin buildup isn't going on. And then from there, I think it was acceleration, move speed, skill speed, also very good things. And then, like I said, we're doing a small accuracy and dexterity stack here. So we have attack speed per 250 accuracy rating here, and we have attack speed per 15 dexterity here, alongside some other dex nodes. We have the increased dexterity here. This is just for some more evasion from our body armor. And then we just kind of cut up here into first approach, because again, first approach, very good, because it's going to give us huge increased damage with hits against enemies that are on full life. We want that. And this bottom roll here gives us 80% critical damage bonus against full life enemies. So again, we just have huge crit multi against anything that's full life. We have huge damage, huge increase. And then currently I'm making my way up here towards Kite Runner, going up this side because this side is only 8% proj speed, which has obviously 8% less than 10%. So we're just going up this side and gonna take Kite Running here. Lets us double dip. After that, I'm not entirely sure, if I'm gonna be honest, where I'm gonna go. I might go to tenfold attacks or like Killer Instinct here. I might just fill out some of these wheels, like the accuracy. Wow. The accuracy and attack damage wheel here, maybe take death from afar here, because this is just more damage. Unfortunately, it's critical hit chance versus stand and deliver gives us more damage bonus, but requires you to be essentially face to face with the enemy. 2 meters is very, very, very short in this game. So probably wouldn't take stand and deliver personally, and instead it would just be death from afar. Escape velocity, just decent. And then if you manage to get yourself a good quiver, good fizz quiver and everything, definitely take Master Fletching and take this whole node here. This is just some really good bonus effect from our quiver. I took the pin buildup just because, like I said, we're Rain of Arrows. Rain of Arrows is our pin buildup, so having a little bit of extra pin is nice. I don't think you need to invest too much into that. Like, I don't think doing pin down is really worth it. Personally, that just seems like too many points, and by too many points, I mean one too many points, versus just taking that. And then coming up here for Moment of Truth for, again, just more crit multiplier there, and a little bit more just damage. Critical damage bonus if we've dealt a non-critical hit recently. So if you mess up your snipe, you still are at least getting an additional crit bonus there. And then we just have Crashing Wave because odds are we've usually done a critical hit in the past 8 seconds. So that's the whole tree thus far. I might take these small 8 dex nodes as well. But that's kind of the tree. That's kind of the direction that I'm thinking right now. So it'll basically be Kite Runner into either the dex or just filling out some of these smaller nodes, or come up here and taking Killer Instinct and tenfold attacks. I haven't really decided which direction I'm going to go just yet, but that's kind of what I have laid out. So, tree-wise, that's this character. And like I said, whenever I get higher levels, whenever I start pushing some more, I will probably put another video out once I actually start fighting some bosses and all that good stuff. With that, we'll roll into the gear. Like I said, some of this it's pretty humbled. Some of this, I mean, it's like I said, we're still figuring stuff out. So these we have our bow here. So again, I just bought this one. Honestly, I think I spent a divine on this. But while I was leveling, I will say I'll try to throw in some like random information I was using while I was leveling. I used this while I was leveling. I just randomly corrupted as well just to see if it would hit something. It didn't. But yeah, I was just using this while I was leveling. This carried me through pretty much most of the game. Before I had this guy, though, this is level 62, obviously. Before I had this guy, I was the first couple levels, because I wanted to snipe early on is rough. So Quill Rain, if you're gonna level with Snipe, use Quill Rain pretty much. It will feel a lot better. But outside of Quill Rain, whenever I was done with Quill Rain, because I didn't use it for all that long, I just swapped to Widow Hail, and then I just kind of used some random unique quivers that I happen to have, and then pivoted to a good rare. And actually, I used Widow Hail for pretty much a majority of the game up until I was able to use this bow. So that's essentially all that I did, is use Widow Hail. I had a pretty decent bow going on. I had a pretty decent quiver at the time that I was just cruising around with. Not this quiver. Until eventually I bought this guy, and it was like a divine. Obviously, there are much bigger bows out there. This is sort of like a mid-game option for now, while I'm just continuing to look around, and I'm gonna keep trying to. I try to craft everything myself first, and that's kind of what I'm gonna continue to try to do. I'm gonna keep trying to craft, keep trying some things on the side. If ultimately, if I wind up getting rich in game and then can just buy another bow, then I probably will. I think like higher base bows are gonna be somewhere around like 6 divines or something though, so. Little under that right now, but regardless, this bow does completely fine. This is pretty much all of the stats that we want on it. The only thing that would obviously be nicer would be some more physical damage wherever we can, and probably some projectile speed. I think that's a suffix. I can't recall. And then yeah, quiver wise, we're just using again just more just flat added fizz is great. Damage with bow skills, accuracy because we're accuracy stacking, critical damage bonus, attack speed. Yada yada, all good things. And then again, of course, as we are using Master Fletching here, we are getting then more bonuses from this quiver. So I'm actually not sure if this is the best quiver base. You could maybe find a better one, or there might be a better base out there. I'm trying to think of the other ones. The generic attack speed one would be good. The 100% chance to pierce quiver would be good. There's probably one other one I'm forgetting about, but I just like the increased arrow speed because of Feathered Fletching. So that's just another damage modifier that we're essentially giving to ourselves, and also a little bit of arrow speed never hurt anybody. Helmet-wise, very generic stuff. I'm actually going to be looking to replace this helmet whenever I can, but just life resistances, whatever else you can find on there that will feel comfortable. What I will say, this ring, speaking of, this ring is kind of whatever, but at the same time, if you're able to find any kind of ring or any kind of item, you want this to be on at least one item for sure, because we are doing so much physical damage. You do want to have some form of physical attack leech and physical mana leech, because it will make your sustain so much higher, and it will feel really, really good once you're able to find a good source of that. So having some kind of thing like this on a ring would be nice. Obviously, I don't really care so much about all of the rarity that it rolled. It rolled double rarity. It's not a bad thing for sure. You know, as I'm running around, just means I'm finding more, getting some more rarity going there. So not a bad thing, but could be better if it just had resistances and some flat added fizz instead. But overall, not a bad little ring. This guy as well, same kind of deal. Good fizz, good accuracy. The resistances are nice. If it had hit life, obviously that would have been a hell of a lot better, but it is what it is. You can't, not everything is going to be perfect. This amulet sucks. It basically is rarity, lighting, and 1 level of all proj skills. If you can find a really good, like, +2 level of proj skills amulet, use it. It's really good. The damage increase is really nice. So this is kind of next on my list of things that needs to be replaced. It's basically my amulet and probably these boots here, because these boots are just 31 life, 25 movement speed, and 19 lightning rods. So nothing crazy item-wise. Like I said, we have some very humble gear here still. These gloves as well. Life on it is fine. The resistances are good. The life per enemy hit with attacks is fine as well, because Rain of Arrows hits a lot. But the cold damage to attacks sucks. I really wish that it hit physical. Then I would probably be set. But alas, I am not. So gloves, I'll be looking for a new one that has flat fizz. Also, maybe some attack speed instead of the life per enemy hit with attacks on the bottom there. But who knows? Belt-wise, just life, build some resistances. That's all I needed it to do. That's all this belt does. Fabulous. If you can find one that also has charm slots on it, awesome. Use it. I've still not seen a single belt that has increased charm slots, and that kind of drives me crazy. And then body armor wise, again, very generic. Plus dex is good just because, again, that's just more attack speed for us. Lightning, fire res, life, whatever. Just whatever you need it to fill. Very generic chest piece. I'll certainly be looking to get a bigger chest piece at some point, but again, it fills its purpose right now, and therefore we're cruising. So that's all the item wise. That's all I had itemization wise. Like I said, nothing crazy. This build is overall, like, the most expensive pieces for sure is pretty much the bow, the quiver, and probably the amulet. If you were to really go out of your way and just, like, bought everything. The bow, the quiver, and the amulet are probably the most expensive pieces that you'll run into. But overall, you can really make this build work. I was seriously cruising all the way through the campaign, like I said, with a Widow Hail and a random, and like some rare Fizz Quiver that I found, and eventually a rare Elemental Quiver even, because we're just flat damage, so just any flat increases to damage is insane, especially with a Widow Hail. So yeah, you can make any number of things work. It was a really cruisy experience once I was onto the Rain of Arrows things. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend anybody follow probably for the first part. If you're insane like me and you just like playing the thing that you're going to play in the end game all the way through, go for it. Do it. You'll just, like I said, there'll be some slow parts, but once you're able to get to the combat frenzy, the Rain of Arrows, you'll be feeling the groove for sure. But with that though, we'll talk about gems. We will talk about our gems. So, like I said, we're doing a lot of Fizz, so therefore that means our generic just bow shot actually does a pretty good amount of damage. It does some pretty good work. And we mostly just use it for support stuff too. So we have Execute, Scatter Shot, Bullseye, and Culling Strike. Just get to be a little bit pew-pewy with it. And yeah, just very generic, just needs to be a support setup. Don't worry too much about it. Barrage here, Ingenuity for increased cooldown recovery, because it does have a very long cooldown recovery. So you can see, once we actually, okay, you can see very long cooldown. So do want to make sure that you have Ingenuity in there, and then we're using Premeditation, just make our Snipe deal even more damage when we're actually using it. Mobility, this isn't a big deal. I just decided to throw this in there randomly. There is an animation of you, like, see, doing, like, the swipe thing there. So there is an animation. It's not a very long one anyway, but I just threw mobility in there because I had the open slot. I don't know. Escape shot, like I said, is really not important. I forget that I have it all the time. It's good early when you're getting, if you get swarmed a lot or anything. It's actually great then. But after that, I've really just not noticed this thing, because if anything gets close, you just Spiral Volley or Rain of Arrows and just kind of roll out of it, and it becomes not a big deal. It's still kind of a handy thing, but like I said, if I manage to get something with more spirit, I'll put something else in there instead. Maybe try to get an attrition if I get enough strength for that. Something, I don't know. I'll put something in there, or I'll just fill some more slots with like a vitality and a clarity instead. But I overall don't really care about escape shot. It's just kind of there. And then we have Snipe, of course, main damage ability. This is, we have quality on it. I would love to actually have this at a full length, but I haven't seen it yet, so continuing to push for that. Martial tempo, this does change it. This does mean that you're actually going to be attacking faster and getting through that animation faster. Highly recommend. Super critical, also, again, highly recommend. It is just free real estate with this build. It gives us increased critical damage bonus. The less critical hit chance does not matter because it's guaranteed on perfect. Then we have Heft for 30% more max Fizz, and Long Shot, because obviously we're trying to far shot things away, so just tacking on a bonus from Long Shot is really good. The final slot here will probably be Brutality. Brutality is currently sitting on, yeah, Rain of Arrows for me. It's just sitting there just to have a support skill that's also still dealing really good damage, because Snipe by itself, as it is right now, is already dealing crazy damage, and so just having a good clear skill that also is dealing good damage for the time being is where the money's going to be at. Wind Dancer here, you could throw in the support. Oh no, I guess Execute would be up here. So Wind Dancer here, I have quality on this just for an additional max stage, but it's here just for our evasion, all that good stuff. Wind Dancer, insanely good buff overall. Don't really have anything in the supports there, don't have any notes. I mean, maybe you can slot something in there, maybe there's something that makes sense to put in there, but for the most part, every time I looked at the supports for it, I just kind of went, I don't think any of this really matters. Rain of Arrows, like I was saying, very, very good, just like support. When you consume frenzy charges, this thing lasts forever. This thing is crazy with how long it lasts, like with just some frenzy charge consumption on it. It's really funny. But yeah, we have Splinter here just so that it breaks armor as well. If you're dealing more fizz damage, then you can just really stack up a ton of armor break on here, which then is also great for just all of our purposes for Snipe and everything. Pin, like I said, we don't care about the stun buildup from this. In fact, Snipe actually deals a ton of stun damage by itself, so we actually really don't care. But Pin, though, is a very, very good tool for this build. It means that you can kind of set your Rain of Arrows and it will prevent a ton of enemies from leaping at you, because there are a lot of enemies that leap at you. So just having the ability to pin them down to stop them from coming after you so quickly is a very nice little bonus. Highly recommend that you give that a go for Rain of Arrows. Cyber's Mark here, we just have Persistence on here just because I had a Strength Gem to slot on. It just makes it last longer. But overall, though, Cyber's Mark makes our next crit have plus, as of right now, 68 to critical damage bonus. Again, that's insane. We're guaranteed critting. So the more crit bonus that we're stacking onto them, the better. Also, let me quickly look. What is our critical damage bonus? 779%. That's a lot of crit. That is a huge crit that's happening every time we're smacking them. So, again, extremely good. And then and that's not even with Sniper's Mark increase there too. And then, like I said, Combat Frenzy here. So this gives us a Frenzy charge when we freeze, electrocute, or pin. And they actually buffed this recently, and it feels great ever since they buffed it, which is so nice. I'm actually really glad they made that change, because it was like every 6 seconds previously, and it felt terrible, I'll be honest. But now, with it being, I think it starts at like every 2.5 seconds or something. 2.5 seconds. I think it's 2.5, and then you march it down as you level it up. But now we are pinning pretty frequently with Rain of Arrows. We have a lot of pin with that. If you're using some kind of elemental build as you're leveling, or if you have like a bunch of elemental damage, you can instead try to go for like a freeze route instead and just use freeze. But this is where our primary form of frenzy charge generation is. Against a boss, though, it'll mostly be Sniper's Mark. But in moment-to-moment combat and maps, it'll be Combat Frenzy. Alchemist Moon here is kind of just here just to fill a slot again. I also wanted to put Precision on it, just because, again, we get bonuses from accuracy, so we want that. But also, this just gives us flash charges, so I felt like if I'm in a boss battle and it's going a long time or something, which rarely happens, but if I did happen to, or if I was just like chugging flasks in there, then I'm at least getting some kind of generation going, so... Not a bad one to throw in there, and it was the only one I had the stats for that made sense. So, Alchemist Boon is here. Not really a huge deal though. Precision can go anywhere as well. That doesn't matter. And then Spiral Volley, like I said, is also just our other clearing tool. So we have just this little spin attack here. It's pretty decent. So we're using Ricochet just to let it chain additional time from terrain. It's actually pretty cool. You go into a room, especially if it's anything indoors. Go into a room, just spin around, and you just watch your projectiles go bam, bam, and just bounce everywhere, and usually clear out. If you have frenzy charges you consume your frenzy charges with this skill as well, it does deal a really sizable amount of damage. But that is where most of the damage is. You aren't going to get a ton of damage just from spinning like this. You need to have a frenzy charge, or at least multiple frenzy charges. Ideally, you'd want to get, I don't know. Oh, ideally, you'd want to have all of your frenzy charges if you can from Rain of Arrows. And don't be afraid to have Rain of Arrows consume frenzy charges as well. Rain of Arrows, again, is doing really good damage, and it lasts a hell of a long time if you consume frenzy charges with it. So, would highly recommend that you do that. And then we're just using Perpetual Charge, so that sometimes when we do use our charges, when we are using our frenzy charges, sometimes it doesn't eat them, which then feels really nice. We can spam it again. And then just Acceleration for more prod speed. I think that works with Feathered Fletching. I'm actually not entirely certain on that, because the damage doesn't change on it at all, but I think that works. I think it does. Whatever. If it doesn't, whatever. Making the projectiles bounce around everywhere faster is also not a bad thing. Anyway, I don't really know what else I'd have here or on Rain of Arrows, truthfully. That'll probably come in a future update whenever I talk about where the build is at, so sorry I do not have more for that right now. My current, primary focus is trying to get Snipe to actually have 5 supports on it so that I can really be chunking through the damage. But yeah, and then, I guess just really quick, talk about what qualities that are kind of the most important to search for first. I'd probably go, Snipe is a really important quality. That's 50 increased critical damage bonus, gives us a 250. So would highly recommend going for Snipe for the damage. Barrage is also a very important one. It makes your repeats, as you can see, repeats deal 16% less damage without quality. But then with our quality, as of level 18, it'll scale as you go on. Now repeats deal 1% less damage. It's basically like I'm firing up to 8 snipes or 12 snipes that deal 1% less damage than the base damage, which is crazy high. So very, very good. Probably would highly recommend throwing quality on there. I would throw quality on Wind Dancer as well whenever you get the chance to. This is probably third most important, I would say, just because the increase, just the percent more evasion per stage is really nice. So going from 3 to 4, getting more evasion, you might hit another breakpoint and go into another point there with Wind Dancer. So I would highly recommend that you do that. Rain of Arrows, or I would probably say Rain of Arrows is more important than Spiral Volley after that. Or what is actually... Oh, no, I would probably go Sniper's Mark. Well, okay, I don't know. This I would leave up to you, up to each individual person. If you want more arrows, if you feel like Rain of Arrows should deal more or should last a little bit longer, throw quality here. If you want to deal even more damage with your snipe and everything, throw it in the Sniper's Mark. Nothing wrong with either of those options. Spiral Volley really is the last on the list, I think, to get quality. It doesn't matter all that much. But yeah, I think with that... Oh, that bug. I think with that, that's all I really had with this character. Like I said, I've been having just so much fun just running through playing this character. I will probably post another update once I actually get more of the items situated, once I get leveled a bit more, once I actually start taking on some real bosses. But I wanted to put this out there because I see so much stuff about the lightning arrow stuff, which of course is incredibly strong. Like, I'm not bashing that by any means. But I hadn't seen anything with Snipe. It's possible that there is something out there and I just haven't seen it. But I've really just been seeing everybody talk about, like, if you're talking about Deadeye, you're talking about bow stuff, they're talking the lightning stuff. And I was like, have they not tried how good Snipe is? Have they not seen this? So I really felt like I needed to put this together just for the sake of that too, because it's just been such a blast to play through, and it's like I said, it was cruising. I was just straight up cruising through the campaign. I was obliterating everything when I got to last boss in the campaign. It was literally, I pretty much got to set up my first shot, and I instantly phased him through his first phase. And then in his second phase, I pretty much two-shot it because I just brought him down to, I stacked my frenzy charges, and I think hit him for 3/4 life, and then stacked again and hit him for the last of it. So it was just an incredibly cruisy experience. I really haven't run into any difficulties. I was really worried about tankiness as I went into maps, especially as I've been in these higher tier maps. But no, I think, just the evasion, the pin, just, being able to kind of really snipe from afar and be really careful with it has been completely fine. Outside of, like I said, the proximity guys, those guys are... I don't fully understand that mod, too. That mod is weird, where it's like... I think if you're far enough away, it doesn't activate. But when you do go in to fight that target, I think once they have essentially set you as a target, then they'll always do the become invulnerable thing until you get close to them. And then you have to be close to them in order to actually damage them. Like, I can't retreat further anymore. So it's like, if you can snipe them out from afar and just deal with them that way, great. But I think once you're actually, like, in combat with them, then the ability activates. I don't actually know how it... That's just my guess. But it's been a really weird one, and that's kind of, like, one of the few things that actually kills this character. That are, like, every now and again, some on-death effect. Or just some other, just, like, random thing jumps over and slam crits me for all of my health. Like I said, I'm still only have 1800. I would like to get into at least 2000 before I kind of feel a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, character's been a ton of fun. I'm gonna keep playing it. But I just wanted to throw this together. So YouTube, I hope you're having fun with Path of Exile 2. I hope you've been having a good time. I have another video for another character as well that I'm going to be putting out. I don't think I'm going to do a full guide for that guy. It's more going to be a thoughts video on thoughts and where that class I think goes. But overall, I wanted to put an actual guide for this because it's just been so much fun. But YouTube, hope you're enjoying Path of Exile 2. Hope you're having a good time. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I don't really have like resources or anything I can show you, so I guess you just have to pause or whatever. But if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer anything that I potentially can. With that though, take care, YouTube. See you next time.